Back to Rambles from the Garden, brought to you by Anchor, the free podcasting app. As usual, once again, welcoming Nick Rinaldi to the podcast as well. Nick, feel free to say hello.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Happy to be back.
Um, All-Star break is here, man. I didn't watch last night. I know you watched the Rising Stars game. Our boy Grimes killed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, while Grimes was killing it last night, the Knicks have also just been killing it, at least the
Yeah.
last week.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most pressing things to talk about is the post-trade deadline stuff.
Yeah.
Josh Hart's tenure, the Knicks are 3-1. I already consider him the greatest trade acquisition of all time at this point. Loving what I'm seeing from him, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to consider he's three. I technically 3-0 with him playing.
That is true.
So
yeah,
3-1 since the acquisition.
The Sixers game was the first game that he was actually technically on the roster, but he was on the bench. Obviously, he wasn't implemented. Averaging 17 points a game, 62.07% from the field, 64% from three. He's bolstering the rebounds. He's getting steals. His first game actually playing, he got 4 steals against the Jazz. And what's honestly, going back to this 3-point percentage number, a lot of people that I was talking to, or just seeing people say stuff before he got traded for, was that what does he bring outside of rebounding? The 3-point shooting's non-existent. He was only taking a couple of attempts a game in Portland and not shooting well whatsoever. I'm glad to see that he shook that out. Some of the guys that I'm with in my fantasy basketball chat, not the one we're in together, another one. There's a lot of Portland fans in there, and I was kind of like looking to them for insight because I'm like, well, why did he suddenly look to turn such a new leaf on the 3-point shooting? Like, why is he shooting so poorly? And they were kind of explaining to me that he's so hesitant and just like not getting the opportunities that he was getting that first time he was traded there. And, as you can see already, the opportunities getting in New York have to be better than what he was getting in Portland before he got traded. And generally just a healthier allotment of minutes. And he's getting involved and he's involving himself in ways too. I like what I've been seeing him do. Obviously, I just ranted about him for about 2 minutes. I love Josh Hart already, so.
Yeah, man, me too. I think we know that like Tibbs really vouched for him. I know like when the trade went down, some video went viral about it. It was like him on a podcast, and like some player mentioned that a coach was really vouching to draft him, and it was Tibbs. And after game one, Hart's first game on the Knicks, Tibbs is quoted like in the press conference saying, yeah, he can, do what he wants, like I give him free reign. So I think with that freedom, that sort of is helping bolster, his 3-point shooting in those attempts. I mean, it's only been 3 games, I'm sure he's not going to shoot that much, but he's just, there's so much like spacing on the floor, and he helps facilitate ball movement so well. That he's getting those open opportunities, and he can, he's not like the most horrendous 3-point shooter. You know what I mean? I mean, his rookie year on the Lakers, he was shooting almost 40% on less attempts, mind you. But still 34% is competent enough. I mean, it's better than some players on the Knicks. One RJ Barrett in particular.
We're going to get to him. I really don't want to talk about it, but you got to talk about the negativity there.
Yeah,
but,
we do. Well, he is shooting better than him for that. But yeah, man, I agree with you. I like him a lot. I think his rebounding is a major factor. I think his perimeter defense, and his basketball IQ. It's just like another good, like, skills player you add to the team. And like Josh Hart isn't the type of player where it's like just him on the team makes you a championship team, but like his addition, he's like a championship caliber player. Like if you had a random allotment of, players that you could draft in a league, like a snake draft, like you're doing a fantasy thing in 2K, he's one of those guys that you would want to pick to be like, I'm trying to build a championship. You know what I mean? Like you want a guy like Josh Hart in your team, a guy that can kind of guard a certain amount of positions, and has some offensive chops and can finish at the rim, and he's athletic. And he's a rebounding guard, which is valuable. And defense and rebounding win championships. So, he just adds that component to your team. And it's just been super nice to watch him. And he's got chemistry with Brunson. He played with Randle for a little bit. So yeah, man, I'm happy we got him on our squad, and the coach likes him. So
yeah, he's like seamlessly fit in. It feels like already. Like you said, he's not a championship guy where like you get him and you're instantly a contender, but his
No.
savvy and just his utility alone,
Yeah.
that's been proven to be valuable throughout his career.
Mhm.
Even in New Orleans, I mean,
Mhm.
early on in New Orleans, Zion Williamson really wasn't playing, but he gets traded there, and
Mhm.
he was of value there. Even,
Yeah.
he played with LeBron. Yeah, he played with LeBron the first year he got there. So he's been around winning talent.
Mhm.
He's been around one of those cultures and environments where it's just kind of like everybody's in your face. He going from LA, obviously New Orleans is a smaller market, and then Portland. I don't know if we consider that a big market per se, but it had Dame time there. So,
Mhm.
but getting out now to New York and getting back to a teammate in Brunson and a teammate in Randall, I think he
Mhm.
kind of just feels right at home, and he's definitely shown it.
Mhm.
Um, going off a 3 game sample size is a little bit drastic. So
No.
building a statue for him is crazy, but
Mhm.
I do think that his presence is going to help more than hurt. Granted, as far as the hurting, I do think it hurts RJ Barrett's chances of, being a guy that closes games, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Mhm.
Um, Hart isn't going to blow you out of the water and score 20 a night, even though I'm sure he could if he wanted to.
Mhm.
And RJ Barrett, on the other hand, has just been putrid for the month of February. I
Yeah.
mean, ever since that 30-point game against Miami, he's averaged. Well, sorry, he's averaging 17 points a game for the month, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, Shooting 39% from the field, 22% from three,
Mhm.
67% from free throw. He's taking
Mhm.
like 16 shots a game, and he's looked lost out there, to be
Yep.
honest.
Yep.
You and me, we've gone back and forth about it through text, Twitter, what have you. And I know we are of the mindset where like maybe throwing him on the bench and being the first guy off would kind of help him. He
Mhm.
seems to run better with the bench unit anyway.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, it's optics and all that politics stuff is going to
Yeah.
make it look awful. And I'm sure that wouldn't help his confidence, whatever,
Mhm.
as much as we would say. But it's sad, man. We want him to be good, and he's been struggling so bad. And
Yeah.
hopefully, this break for the next 5-6 days kind of just like levels him out. The team's like kind of backing him, just
Mhm.
talking to him,
Mhm.
getting into his head like, dude, you're okay,
Mhm.
but just he needs to figure something out, man. He's in year
Yeah.
4. Quentin Grimes and Josh Hart. I mean, Quentin Grimes has struggled recently as well,
Mhm.
but those two bring utility to the wing position that they don't need to be taking that many shots, and they keep themselves involved by moving around, passing the ball better,
Mhm.
getting steals, generating defense.
Mhm.
RJ's been a net negative. I think his plus minus I saw the other day for the season so far was like minus 63, which is like
Mhm.
second or third worst on the team.
Mhm.
There's a lot of negativity surrounding him. You see a lot of people on Twitter kind of just going back and forth about him. And I don't want to dwell too much on him right now, only because, at this point, it just feels like we're going to get what we're going to get from him. And dwelling on his poor play is really just going to make us look like assholes in a way. But,
Mhm.
obviously weigh in on it,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm kind of like just done talking about it personally.
Yeah. No, I don't feel bad, man. I mean, he's making, you know, 9 figures now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's 22. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I still think he's still like this like raw talent. But again, he's not really good at one particular thing. He can
Hmm.
do certain things. I think it's been a lot in terms of like I don't think he was able to train as much over the summer because he didn't want to get hurt and like risk getting a contract. I think there's the pressure of New York setting the expectation like you were the third overall pick, so you need to be this generational talent, which he's not, and he's not going to
Hmm.
be. And if he was, we'd already know it by now. Um, but I still think there's a player in him that could improve efficiency and make a couple All-Star games down the line. It's more so, a mental game. I think he does have the yips where it's like you'll see him just like botch simple layups and simple bunnies because he's just
Yeah.
like something is not in sync and not aligned. I don't know how much extra work he's putting in. You know what I mean? There was rumors on Twitter that like him and his girlfriend broke up. I'm not gonna get into all that crap. But I think when it comes down to a basketball perspective, it comes down to like he's not really playing to his strengths. He's trying to shoot a lot more. And I mean, he's averaging about the same attempts as last season. Not doing as well, but you notice like a game against the Hawks. He was attacking the rim a bit more. And I think that's where he's really going to get more of his points and like sort of get himself in sync is, just like being aggressive and attacking the rim. One play in particular, he got a wide open three in the corner from Josh Hart and decided to just like, I'll try to poster someone. And mind
and he
you,
got trampled.
he got trampled, but I was like, I kind of like that move. I just thought that was
Yeah.
a smarter decision making because, like, you're not productive from three right now. So
His 3-point shot that game looked weird, man. There's a couple of playbacks that I saw, and I even noticed it during the game that like he took it from the left side corner or just between the corner and the top of the key, and the way he rose up and then released, and then even like the way his guide hand fell off, something just didn't look right. Like his mechanics are all weird.
yeah, I don't know. I attribute to that too. He's just not practicing. He's just not putting in any extra work. I mean, it comes down to this. Like, I just don't really like when people say like he sucks because it's like you're not just like that's almost like me as a fan of him, like making up these BS excuses for why he's playing bad. Like, there is a reason why the shot's not falling. If you are getting your reps in and you're working with a trainer to get your shot like more focused, he will hit those shots. Like, I really think it comes down to that. You have the resources as an NBA player to improve. I can't speak to, why they're not falling. Maybe he is putting the work and I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. But I also think maybe, he's expecting to be more ball dominant and you got Julius and Brunson right now. And he kind of knows he isn't really fitting into that. So I think there's a psychological component. But I do think, I was, I was accused of being on crack when I said this, but I think him coming off the bench is not a punishment. I don't think it's a bad thing, but he's running with that bench squad more. You can start Hart, you can start Grimes, and then, he'll take less shot attempts. But I always said, like, RJ, right now he's averaging 5 rebounds, almost 3 assists, a little under 20 a game on low efficiency. He really should focus on not trying to be the scorer type player and average 25 a game. Average around 17, 18 a game, but focus on getting those boards up, getting those assists up, and being more efficient. And I think that's so he can be more of an effective player. He's trying to be this superstar, like scorer type player, and he doesn't have those natural chops to do that. But if you really focus on, if he was a guy that was, 18 points a game, 7 boards a game, and 5 assists per game on better efficiency, that's a whole different player, and that's what contributes to winning basketball. When I'm talking about him come off the bench, I'm thinking about how can he help contribute to winning? Because right now he's not. Right now, some of the close games we had, I think the Clippers game and one of the games versus Sixers, we were an RJ Barrett good, not even good game, an RJ Barrett decent game from winning those games. You know what I mean? So it's really just a detriment to our team. Some of his decision making has tunnel vision. He's missing guys when they're open, missing Obi on a few dunks. So, I think it's definitely something to consider. And, he's our homegrown pick. So I definitely don't want to trade him, but I think the front office will weigh that for sure. I mean, already they were considering moving him for Spida. So it's something they've thought about, but this has not really been a good season for him at all. He's had a few good flashes. I mean, he had the best game of his career against the Heat. That 44-point clip. It was like he shot like 14 to 20, which was a really good game to watch if you're an RJ fan. But I'm really sort of done talking about it too. I just wish him the best. I hope he improves. And come playoff time, we're going to need him to just be better. We're not asking him to be this, amazing scorer. Just be better, on both sides of the floor. Defense is really where he's been taking a hit. I can't really speak to that. He just looks slower. He's like going around screens. He's like losing guys. I do think there's a component to me, man. There's kind of an effort thing going on, and I can't speak to why that is, but
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's having almost similar to what happened with Randle last year. He secured his contract, his extension, and like you said, the expectations might be weighing on him. There's really we're never going to get a surefire answer. He's going to always say the political way and the diplomatic way of describing what's going on with him.
Always.
We're going to just keep speculating as fans because we're not getting behind the scenes experience with the team or anything. it's just unfortunate for him. I think he'll break out of it eventually. I really do root for him. I know I say the negative stuff, whether behind the scenes, whether it be on Twitter, whatever. I don't shy away from it. However I feel. Um, you know, you'll have people that will call other people out for being just keyboard warriors, and you can only see what you see from TV screen. You're not seeing what you see if you were sitting courtside. Like, sorry, I can't fucking afford to sit courtside. I could still tell what's going on with my eyes.
You can read body language, yeah.
You could see what's going on.
Yeah.
And clearly the fit is a little awkward for RJ. I mean, it was already weird 4 years ago when he got drafted and the Knicks picked up Randle. And they were starting together, playing regular minutes together. It looks strange. They're like the same version of each other, but one's taller than the other.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, it's been 4 years. We know Randle and RJ. It's not a fit that works.
It's not a perfect fit,
So,
but I mean, they did also manage to make it work during the COVID season. And as you see behind me, I got that metal print there. They led the team to the playoffs. They were the two best players on the team. It was indisputable. RJ looked at his best. Obviously, with the no fans and stuff, maybe that helped it. But he has to get back to that form of himself where he's kind of just efficient and proficient at what he's been doing.
The thing is, though, it's like we talk about that version of himself, and it's sort of like he's never really been efficient, though. So it's really
that season. That season he was his highest efficiency from both the field and 3-pointer all together, and free throw.
What, year 2? For
him? His second season. That was his best season to date. I mean, obviously last year he averaged 20, and he was averaging 20 this year. But I mean, you can average 20 all you want. If you're doing it at below league average shooting, it's really not that beneficial to yourself or the team.
Yeah.
And that year he was playing at his best efficiency wise. Like, he was comfortable shooting the ball. He was comfortable getting to the rim and attacking. They'll bring up the effective field goal percentage and his true shooting percentage. I understand that the advanced metrics do point that he was still a negative, I guess, but he still looked like a valuable player, and he could get back to that. I have no doubt in my mind. It's just a matter of how. And unfortunately for him now, he got his extension. The front office put their confidence in him. They gave it to him, but they also signed Jalen Brunson to not so hefty contract. But you see what you're getting from him. He's going to need the ball in his hands all the time, every night. He's averaging 32 points a game for the month of February.
Yeah.
And however many assists, and his efficiency's through the roof. He's like over 50% from the field, about 50% from 3, I think, right now in the month of February. And look what Jalen Brunson was getting doubted coming into the year. And he's having a career season. He started this year shooting like 32% from 3 in the first month, and then gradually 41%. Improved. Yeah, he's at like 5 attempts a game, shooting 41%.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, basically, this year's RJ having a rough time, but you have a leader in Brunson like this, and an all-star in Randle, by the way. Brunson should also be an all-star, obviously, but Randle's the all-star again this year, coming off of a rough season where the fan base turned their back on him. And now we're looking at a similar experience with RJ Barrett, which I think he could overcome. And he should look to Randle and look to Brunson as motivation and inspiration. He should be listening to Johnny Bryant, who also spoke to Randle about his bad habits. He should be looking to his trainers and being like, look, like, how do I fit this system, whatever system it may be? Because obviously Tom Thibodeau does have some questionable coaching tactics. Like, it's all relative, and every bit of conversation about it that we've had and other people we have had, Twitter spaces and whatever you see, it's all very fair to discuss and contemplate, because it's obvious, it's evident. You could see in the numbers, you could see it on the screen, you could see it, you could hear it. If you were blind, you could hear somebody talking about it, and to believe it. So, like you said, we're dwelling on it, but just RJ Barrett will get back to good shape, I think. It doesn't pay to be negative and pessimistic about him. He's the third overall pick. He was the third overall pick for a reason. The year we drafted him, and I think he could pan out. It's just a matter of and trusting him, and then him trusting back to the franchise. But we'll get there.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And we have a couple days. Like I said, it's going to be a fun weekend. We saw Grimes killing it last night. the dunk contest and the 3-point contest is tonight.
Yep.
So Randle will be there. Jericho Sims should hopefully be, victorious. We'll see. Then we got All-Star game tomorrow. Pretty sure. Hopefully Randle gets drafted and gets to play pretty well there. And then, back to the drawing board, the 24th of February, where the Knicks play Washington. They got New Orleans, Boston, Brooklyn, Miami, Boston, those next 5 games after. The Knicks just beat Brooklyn. Miami might be getting Kevin Love after the buyout with the Cavaliers. And they got 2 big ones against Boston. All 4 of those games are going to be huge and pivotal for their standings going forward. And these are the games where you would like to see like RJ Barrett start to step it up. Hopefully Brunson can maintain this momentum that he's got. Julius Randle can maintain the momentum he's got. And then just guys like Hart, Emmanuel Quickly, Sims, Isaiah Hartenstein, who's even picked it up after getting bashed for a good couple weeks. Just getting things going in a positive direction. I mean, the Knicks are 32 and something right now, and that's better than where they were in the first 60 or so games last season. So,
yeah, man, 33-27, the best record going into the All-Star break, I think.
There you go.
Since the 2013 season, that mellow second round season.
Yep, the 2012-13 season. Yep.
Yeah, man, I got a lot of. It's weird, because of Brunson, I got a lot of trust in this team. The chemistry is there. People trust in him to be the number one guy, but also know that Jules is an all-star. He's just you don't want him to be the number one guy, but he can be the best player, if that makes sense. He just can't be the guy being the decision maker. So it's I have so much trust in this team that the chemistry and the effort and guys are playing for each other that I really do think night in and night out we can beat any team. So it's going to be exciting, these games coming up for seeding, and this team is exceeding expectations, but not in an unreasonable amount. I think just the Brunson acquisition was a lot more beneficial to the Knicks than people initially expected. That's a steal. Randall's kind of back to his former self because of the Brunson acquisition. I think Quickly is one of the best bench players in the league, and he is almost the anti-RJ, in which he's improved almost every season. And now you trust him. He used to make rookie mistakes as a rookie, and then even last year. And now this year, it's he seems like a guy that's been in the league 6-7 years at this point. It's kind of nuts. So I'm excited to see where he goes from there. And he's a pivotal player to his team. Grimes, I think, is playing. I think the Hart acquisition is good because you don't really need to play Grimes. He averages 30 minutes a game. I think it's a little too much minutes for him right now, but he will still. He's in year 2. You got to remember Quentin Grimes, so he'll have time to improve. So you kind of have a minutes reduction there, Hartenstein's been playing great, and you'll be getting Mitch back, so we'll be at full strength. And I'm excited to see, how we finish off the season. I think we definitely got to finish off strong, but it's a weird spot to be in, having trust in the team. I'm sure we'll have 1 or 2 bad losses going into the year, but it almost seems like all the bad losses that we had, blowing leads and stuff and lack of effort, it seems like Brunson and co really took that personally, and they're look, it's really in our control to just not have those bad games. And playoff seeding is going to be crucial, and playoffs are a different game, but we've seen Brunson be able to do it. And I mean, this team did have a playoff series in the past, so I think they got that little taste, right? And they just weren't good enough to beat a big, a more talented Atlanta team. So I think they're hungry for that, and they want to just kind of see, how far they can go. No expectations.
For sure. I think I forget if it was the last time we linked up about it, but we talked about how this team needed to find out where they were with Brunson to really know what to do next. And Brunson is a battle-tested point guard right now. Whether it was just that one playoff run or not, he proved himself last year. During the Jazz series, during the Suns, during the Warriors, not so much, I guess. But he proved that he could be of value. And when it comes time for the playoffs, assuming the Knicks just get in there right out of the gates, because their strength of schedule the rest of the year I think was one of the top 5 hardest. But they also managed to make it through a couple of weeks without Mitch and survive some pretty tough teams. But Brunson coming in there and just being the battle-tested guy he is, he's going to be very beneficial to keeping the team alive in a playoff series or in playoff series.
Real quick on that note you just said, like, that's why I kind of have trust in this team, is because when Mitch went down, I sort of had like this acceptance where I was like, okay, like we're not gonna be like we're like, you know, we're gonna have a rough stretch of games. That's okay. You know, we'll probably finish the season in the play-in or something like that. Like we don't have Mitch, and the fact that we're playing good without him, it shows the adaptability of the team, and it's really impressive. So that sort of is like trust inducing. You know what I mean? That like if someone's so crucial and the anchor to our defense, a really efficient offensive rebounder, you know, goes out and guys step up. You know, and it's
100%.
nice to see.
It's comparable to somewhat to the year that they made the playoffs last, where you know, they lost Mitch, I think against the Wizards then too, actually, when he went down with that leg injury.
Yeah.
And you know, we had Nerlens Noel as a backup, but Nerlens Noel came in and stepped up big time and just kept the Knicks afloat, and they made it to the fourth seed. You know, you got Hartenstein and Sims playing center minutes now and doing an admirable job, to be fair. Sims still in only his second season, and you know, still learning the nuances of the game. You know, avoiding foul trouble in the NBA stage and all that.
No.
Hartenstein, again, he was getting bashed and ripped apart, myself included. I was like getting tired of him, and then he managed to turn and flip the script as a backup, and he's been he started a couple of games, I know, when Mitch went down, but you know, he's just been able to be there and, like you said, fill a void, and that does help trust the team more, because you're seeing things where they're kind of written off as the underdog, but still coming out on top. And obviously that also is in large part because of guys like Randle and Brunson. I mean, there was was it the Clippers game? Yeah, I think it was the Clippers game where they combined for like 60 something points.
Yeah.
And you know, they they played their part. And then, you know, just a poor defensive lapse at the end of the game that caused that let Nick Batum hit that three. You know, resulted in a loss, unfortunately, because we got to overtime and we weren't ready for overtime. So, but it'll all pay off, I think. You're right. You brought up Mitch coming back, and I completely forgot about that, because I even said the other day, like, where the hell is he? I was looking into his injury report. I saw, and I think it jogged my memory after the fact, that he was expected to come back after a few weeks, you know, towards the end of January. So we probably get him back at the end of the month, February. And at the end of the month, you know, you start starting March, you get into another Brooklyn game, Miami, Boston, Charlotte, Sacramento, Clippers, Lakers. There's a 4-game road trip, Sacramento, Clippers, Lakers, Portland. Then there's Denver, then there's Minnesota. Like we're on the West Coast, or playing West Coast teams. You know, getting him back for that home stretch, these last 20 games, is going to be huge. I don't know where the Knicks could end up permanently. But I do like their chances at maintaining top 6, especially now that the Nets are pretty much without any real threat. I mean, the Knicks just blew them out the other day.
Yeah, so my opinion on that in terms of seeding is like, I think Miami is, I don't know, they're not really as tough as years past, the last 2-3 years, because the East has just gotten tougher. Cleveland is still pretty strong, and they hold sort of a 5-game lead over us. But Brooklyn, they're like even better defensively without Durant and Irving now. But they don't really have that like clear-cut superstar to close out games. I mean, Mikal Bridges is probably their best player. He had an amazing game the other night, so he could kind of get there to take that leap. But I think because they don't have that like go-to guy in the fourth quarter at games, like I think that's going to be extra losses that they otherwise wouldn't have incurred with Durant and Kyrie. So I think there's a really good shot we can still finish 6 or 5. I think for me, we just, and we've done this already, is there's starting to be some separation between the 7th seed and the 8th seed Atlanta. And it's still, you finish in that 7th seed, it's still the play-in. But, you know, it kind of like separates us as a team. Like we're 6 games above 500. Atlanta's 1 game below, and they're the 8th seed and we're the 6th seed. And, you know, Atlanta's not having a good season. So, you know, I just don't expect us to fall into that 8, 9, 10 category. I think we're better than Atlanta, Washington, and Toronto, despite the Raptors beating us, with their length, and definitely Chicago. So, I think we could sneak up to that 4 seed, but I don't have expectations around that. And I think it's all adding up for a first round series against Brooklyn or the Sixers or the Bucks. And if it's the play-in, I mean, that's gonna be super interesting too. But we'll see where we end up, man. The East is wide open and it's close.
100%. And I mean, the West is no different. We don't really have to venture into that territory. We can, but you look at the Western standings and you don't know what the hell's going to happen. I kind of think the top 4 in the East are set. Unless the Cavaliers have some tragic downfall. It's probably 5, 6 is Knicks, Nets, or Knicks, Heat, or vice versa. The Nets, Knicks, and Heat are all within a few games of each other. So, and like you said, Atlanta, I don't know what's up with them. I don't really know what their schedule's like though to end the year. Hey, if by some act of fate the Knicks can revisit them in the playoffs, though, I would like to see that revenge game. Even though their team looks completely different than it did that year. No, not completely. They got DeJounte Murray. That was pretty much it. And they have Sadiq Bey now, actually. So,
yeah, they do.
But yeah, you're right. I don't think the Hawks, Wizards, Raptors, Bulls pose a serious threat to anything. Right now, that it's kind of just up to the Knicks to maintain their momentum and see where they end up. Because every game counts. Growing up now, as I've been watching basketball, like I used to just think, whatever, we take that loss, it's okay. 82 games or not, every game really does count. It's like in football, it's a shorter season, so every week really, like, you have to put your life on the line for it. I mean, especially in an Eastern Conference that's been performing the way it has, like, you got to be in it every night to win it. And that's what I'm hoping ends up happening. But we'll see.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to finish strong. There's 60 games we played, 22 games left. You win 12 of those 22 games, a little more than half, which I think is doable. You got 45 win season, which is great, which would be the best season in years. And I think you got a real shot to finish, 5, 6, somewhere around there. I think at this point it's like, you want to shoot for. You don't want to deal with the play-in, because a lot can happen in one game. You want to have
exactly,
you want to know 7-game series there. Because that's a whole different type of basketball game. And I think if RJ can get it together, I think there's a real shot we can really beat any team in the Eastern Conference in a series. Boston and Milwaukee will be tougher because they're hardened. But Philly, I just don't trust the Sixers at all. I think, we've seen Harden time and time again not play well in the playoffs. Honestly, I think no one really points this out or pays attention to it. But Joel Embiid in late game situations in the playoffs is never good. And I don't understand how people kind of like gloss over this. I think people need to consider that factor. And, the Sixers, you usually always had our number. And I don't know what it is, but this year I think, we can make it a tough series if we play them. So I'm excited to see, how the season pans out and who we play. And I think, just have a sort of a meta conversation real quick about, the direction of the team. I think now that you got Brunson, who's like 26, and you got Hart you traded for, and there's sort of like a respect factor incurred around the Knicks, and you saw sort of the downfall, like that Nets pseudo dynasty, which never happened. Like, I think we want to stay competitive. I think, like, to go a full rebuild and stuff, like play the kids, the mindset that we had in the past. I think that was all based off of like, look, we can't build around Julius Randle being the number one guy and everyone else. Like, make a decision. Now that you got a guy like Brunson and then Randle's entering his prime, it's like, let's compete these next 2-3 years and consistently make the playoffs, win a series, like do that. That way you can really get a free agent. And like, this is a step we need to take to get to that championship level. So, I'm proud to root for the Knicks right now. They're fun to watch. And I think we just got to sort of stay the course with our team,
Yeah,
I think
I
this is the
100%.
direction. I think my whole point is like, I think this is the direction. Like, we want to talk about the mid three, whatever. Like, the direction is, look, we don't have a Giannis or an Embiid or a Tatum or even like a Spida Mitchell. But we're pretty similar to like Brooklyn, Miami, and Atlanta, and that's literally just one superstar player from being a top 3 seed in the East. So, I really don't think there's a lot of players that Jalen Brunson can't play with in the NBA. Who that superstar might be, don't know. Couldn't tell you. Things are a little bit more up in the air right now. There's so much parity in the league. It doesn't seem like guys really want to leave. It's like a guy like Shai Gilgeous, right? He plays for OKC. They're gonna mess around and like make the play in this year. And even though he plays in Oklahoma City, like a guy like that, like superstars, even on like teams like that, like they have a pride in like being on their team. Guys aren't like trying to get out of here. Utah was like a different situation. So I don't know who that superstar will be. I think Brunson could even get better. Randle's in his prime. Like, you hope that RJ will get a little bit better. Maybe we're just one of those teams that you don't need a bona fide superstar. You're kind of like the '04 Pistons in a way, and maybe you can do something. Who knows? But I think, long story short, like the path forward is like compete. Like, try to win and compete with what you got, because now you got a guy with Brunson who's a real hooper and is one of the best Knicks, honestly, that I've personally watched already in a season. I don't think that's even crazy to say. Passes the eye
Not
test.
at all.
So
Not at all.
it's just a pleasure to watch. It's so nice to watch good basketball every night when he's on the floor.
Yeah, man. He's going down. He's being talked about already as one of the best free agency acquisitions in Knicks history, and you could honestly dispute that he's the best altogether.
Yeah, man. People talk about Allen Houston. I wasn't watching the Knicks when Houston played, and it's a different league now. So
Yeah, I mean, even if you just watch like some tape on Houston, his style of play and just what he brought to the team was incredible. He's one of my favorite former Knicks, and I never saw him play. It's just stuff that I've read about and all that. And sorry, Allen Houston's definitely up there. To be honest, I don't really know many other free agents in Knicks history that were picked up, aside from the guys that I've seen happen from following it recently. But Brunson and Randle are definitely up there on the list. Brunson, arguably the best again. And you're right. I think you could not really, you build around him, so to speak. You get him shooters, even if they're just role player caliber players, that'll help the team. Randle, if he could just keep up his stretch forward mentality and, even be serviceable on defense, that benefits the team in the future going forward. And honestly, just sticking to the guns that you got. RJ Barrett needs to improve. If he improves, this team's better. Quickly improves, this team's better. Grimes improves, this team's better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You go down the list. You do have to still clear up some space, because you look at like the guys that are now getting situational minutes or not playing at all. Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier have cap space that's sitting on the bench, and they're better suited on a contender right now. And their positions could be filled by younger guys that could just complement the team that we have.
Yeah, man. I think you keep bringing in like talented youth that have like 3-4 years on the league. Like look, a guy like Reddish, like. And this doesn't I'm not, preying on like his downfall or whatever. Like, it doesn't work. Like, he's not consistent. Like, it's not a guy that you want on the team going forward long term. A guy like Hart, you do. So you want to keep bringing in guys like that, 26, 27 role players that like build a team. Like Fournier and Rose are just like collecting checks, and I'm happy for what they do provide. Veteran presence, and Fournier like loves being on the team, which is cool. He really doesn't beef about not playing, like, which is really nice. Like, he could easily be toxic. And he's not, which is nice. But you got to get off those guys. You see what you can do, man. You see what type of guys you can bring in. I'm sure there's some free agents down the line. I mean, I have my eyes on super, super, super big fish, and I have a funny feeling we got a good shot. And that name did come out of Julius Randle's mouth. But
I was going to cut you off before to say that, but yeah.
Yeah. I just see it. I really do. But anyways, that I don't want to have too high expectations. I like with what we got now. And go from there.
Yeah. I mean,
strong.
I'll do the name drop. We all saw it earlier today. Julius Randle talking about how his favorite player is Luka Doncic, even though I swear I've never heard him say that before. The recruiting starting early. Obviously Doncic is locked in for a contract, but all it takes is just another Mavericks downfall, and he's going to want out, even though he says he doesn't. Everybody says they
New
don't
York
want
is a little bit closer to Slovenia. It's great for your brands. And he can handle the pressure. So let's stop playing around and get Luka to the Knicks already.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. The Knicks have to get to a point like what we're talking about, where they have to establish a culture. They have to establish a competitive nature, and then see what they need for that next jump. And if they happen to think it's Luka, they're gonna throw all the chips in. I mean, all the picks. If RJ's still around, he's gone. If Grimes is still around, he's gone. If Quickly's still around, he's gone.
I mean, have a Luka, Brunson, Randle core, and that team can win stuff, and you build what you can around them. But if Luka wants to be one of the all-time greats, he's already probably gonna be, but surpass a guy like LeBron, which I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, so it's easy for me to kind of, talk about this stuff. You come to the New York Knicks and you win a championship, all time. I mean, you're different. So,
whoever does it for New York is going to be, I mean, like, it's going to be they might be irrationally idolized in a way, but if you're of the top five, like I would consider Luka top five currently in today's NBA.
Absolutely.
If you're a top five NBA player and you take your talents to New York and then win them a title for the first time in 50 plus years, I mean, literally, this is the 50th anniversary of the second and last title the Knicks have won. So if you could do that for them, you're enshrined. Like, we'll build you all the statues up and down 7th and 8th Avenue if we have to.
I got since we're sort of venturing down the path of hypotheticals because it's fun, I got a name that isn't, quite as big as Luka, but I got a name that if we can, keep some youth and defensive players and still acquire this guy, I think we could definitely compete for a championship, and it's Jalen Brown. I think if you had a core of like Brunson, Brown, Randle, Hart, you keep Mitch, that means there's no RJ, there's no Grimes, there's no Quickly, guys like that. I think that team's nasty, man. I think like you have Randle doing his thing. I think you have Brown, this like dynamic, smart scorer, and then you have Jalen Brunson, your point guard. That's all of a team. I don't know. We're talking hypotheticals with Brown, like maybe the Celtics. They don't make it back to the finals soon, or they do, but they lose, and then Brown wants to, I don't know. Anything could happen. Maybe he wants to stay in Boston, but there's a space for you in New York.
Well, it's funny you say Jalen Brown because just the other day on Twitter, I was watching a short like radio show clip, and these people, I guess they're from Boston. At least the one guy was. I saw the bobbleheads of like Boston Red Sox players in the background, and he was talking about, like, he was downplaying Jason Tatum. He was talking about how Tatum is like in it for the selfish awards and yada yada yada. He's only focused on MVP. He's making comments about only wanting MVPs in his vision. And then this other person, her name's like Meg Mego. I saw Mego. And she's talking about like, no, I don't think that's the case. I think he wants a championship. And then this guy's like, no, sorry. Like, he wants an MVP only. He doesn't care about winning right now and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on Tatum being this like selfless type of player. We've seen like him in interviews and stuff that have, and this isn't a testament to his character like at all. Great guy. I'm sure he's a great dad. Like, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like in terms of like legacy and NBA stuff. Like, I think he's a little self-centered more than people think. And no one knows what kind of issues that could lead to. But right now, I mean, the Celtics are a well-oiled machine. I don't see that.
They're polished. They just made it to a finals. Like, it would have to be one of the most tragic stories in history, basically. But Joe Mazzulla was just named permanent head coach instead of interim. You got Tatum and Brown as arguably one of the best, like, top 5 duos in the NBA, I guess you could say. And there's really no signs of any change. Obviously, there's been like dramatic conversations of Jalen Brown kind of being like, I think I've seen stuff about like, we'll see where my future lies. I just thought it was interesting to bring up that thing that I saw, because like, if his local radio is talking him down, like, that could end up affecting him and affecting the future of the team. Who knows? But,
I hear you. So, we're just talking like hypotheticals. But the team that we have now, I'm happy with, and like we're just building that strong foundation. It all comes back to sort of that 4th seed, but I don't think we even had a direction around then. I think we sort of like exceeded expectations then, and getting Brunson was a huge signing. Whatever, we gave up a 2nd round pick or whatever for the tampering. I don't care. We got him. We got our guy.
Yeah,
We got him on a steal, man. We got him on a steal.
The sheer value of his contract as it is already like we're robbing him. It feels like.
Yeah, man. Look, we got him this season. We got him next season. We got him the season after, and then a player option. And I think he loves playing here. So
yeah, he's averaging like 24 a game, like about 7 assists. He, like I said earlier before, like incredible efficiency this year. And he's only earning about like 24, 25 for the season. And it's just going to keep becoming less and less for the next 3 years.
Right.
He's averaging the numbers that a top 10 point guard would average. And we're paying him less than anybody. Like we're paying him less than what we're going to be paying RJ soon. You know what I mean?
I know.
So it's like, it's incredible value what you're getting from him. And again, he's one of the best he's the best free agent I've seen the Knicks pick up. And I wear this jersey as often as I can.
Yeah.
I love this guy. You should hear me talking to my parents about him. They don't even give a shit. They're just listening to me rant about him. And I'm like, sorry, this is just the impact that he's had on me as a fan of this team.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a spectacular thing to watch. I would love to. I'm gonna get one of his jerseys for sure.
Yeah, and I think you should especially do it because I know you said like you were considering maybe Randle, but you wanted to see playoffs and like him.
And I respect Randle, but Brunson is the man. That's the guy who is gonna be on this team for a while. And he adds some like self-respect to the team. Now I'm looking at for fun. I'm just kind of looking at free agents 2024.
Yeah, I was looking at it before.
And there's a few interesting names that come out, like Brendan Ingram, stuff like that. But I'm thinking of guys to take us to the next level, and a lot of guys are locked in for a long time, man.
If you remember, like, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? I think it was when they signed Fournier. Like we were kind of talking about how the future called for, or the plan might have been to get Booker, Cat, or those CAA clients that also played in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then last year happens, or the year prior, and Booker gets his max extension and all that. So like you said, these guys are locked in. Same thing with Luka. These guys are locked in for a few. Like 5 more seasons to come.
Yeah.
Zion Williamson got locked up for 5 years to come. So free agent stuff is going to be tough.
And he can't even stay on the floor. So
he's struggling to stay on the floor. Brandon Ingram's another one I love Brandon Ingram to death, but he can't stay on the court either. As talented as he is, I don't know how much he really helps.
Man.
But yeah, man. All right. We're on a little bit of a time crunch today, so I'm
hot takes.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if you had any hot takes you were thinking of.
I don't. I mean, here's what I'd say. I think we could beat the Sixers in a playoff series. That's what I'll say. 7 games, 6 or 7 games. We'll see, man. Doc doesn't really show. If we had a better coach, and Tibbs is doing his thing, but if we had a better coach, I'd trust that take a bit more. So it's still feeling hot to me, but
I don't know if it's really a hot take, but my take would be, because I actually have a strong feeling that the first round matchup is going to be between the Cavaliers and the Knicks. I was saying to Cal the other day, like how it would be kind of poetic because of all the shit with the Cavs, beat the Knicks to getting Donovan Mitchell and blah blah blah. But to see the underdog, the not home court advantage Knicks come to Cleveland and then beat them in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
With just Brunson and whatever else we have.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen. If that's the first round matchup, I think the Knicks advance over the Cavaliers.
Yeah, man. I think we could win a series, man. And that would be
nice. Their defense is good. With Jared Allen, Mobley, and Okoro, whoever they have starting there. I just think that there's a chance that they could survive that series, especially if Mitch is back in full force, and Brunson just keeps leading the charge like this. Randle keeps leading the charge like this. But Thibodeau, his coaching aside, I think he'll still be able to get good defensive pressure out of them.
That's what I'm saying.
we've seen the offense at its best recently, especially. So I like to think that we could beat the Cavs, and that would honestly be my final call, to be honest.
Yeah, man. And I want to make one more point to go back to RJ. There's a guy's numbers that I'm looking at, and his 4th year in the league, he averaged 21.7 points a game, a little more than RJ. 2 steals, so way better defensively. More assists, more rebounds. It's okay. Shot 36% from 3, which is better than RJ, but around 42% from the field. Not the most efficient guy. Year 4. Can you guess what guy I'm talking about?
Oh shit.
He got better after that. Year 4. This was his year 4 stats though. So 42% from the field, 36% from 3, 21 points per game. Year 4. Before then, he had 17. Second year, he had 12 points a game. First year, 7.8 points a game. So there's a gradual increase there.
Oh shit. That should honestly be giving it away to me. Is that Jalen Brown?
No. I'll tell you who it is. It's Paul George.
Paul George. Okay.
So the point I want to make is Paul George, and then the year after was the injury that he incurred.
The leg injury,
he was out. Yeah. So I just want to say, 36 minutes a game, and he had better numbers than RJ, but 42% from the field as a whole, averaging 21 a game. RJ's still 22. In 5 years, he's 27, and that's his prime. So it's like you can't really count him out yet.
No, 100%.
I think our New York expectations and him being the 3rd pick, he's not as good as Ja and Zion when Zion plays.
And Garland.
He's better than this, and we've seen flashes of that. So, I think just got to stick with him. And I've talked my fair share of shit about him this season out of frustration, but, my buddy Basil, shout out to him. He was an OG Knicks fan.
Shout out Basil.
He got me to watch
married.
the Knicks. Recently married. Will be a new father soon. Congrats to him.
Oh, it's the first time.
I just want to say, he got me into watching the Knicks, and he has a true statement, which is a fact. Draft RJ, keep RJ. So that's it. I'll end my takes on that.
Well, I love it, honestly. We'll see how that pans out, and congratulations to Basil.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So that's going to be us checking out, and we love you.
Yeah.
Follow, like, support, tweet, share, read, listen.
Yeah. Let's go, Julius Randle 3-point contest.
Yes.
Jumpman Sims jumping out the gym tonight in Utah. Gonna have the Mormons going crazy. Let's go. Let's go. Put a little bit of money on Julius. Why not? Let's see.
I was thinking about it. Yeah, we gotta throw all support their way tonight and tomorrow. So hopefully Randall gets drafted pretty high in the All-Star draft, and then gets to have some fun. His last All-Star game, he was kind of just like, "Hey."
Hope so.
All right, y'all. Talk to you later, Nick, and talk to you later, everybody else.
Peace.